For the best possible results, how far would you travel? Would you take an international flight to find a hospital that ranked among the very best in the world for the treatment of heart attacks? For the best possible results in 9 cardiac care measures, just how far would you go? St. Tammany Parish Hospital, world-class healthcare, close to home.
Welcome to Healthy Living, brought to you by St. Tammany Parish Hospital. I'm your host, Amanda Paxton. School is starting soon, which means that summer break is coming to an end, and parents and children both will have to get back into a regular school routine. This can often be difficult, so today we have 2 guests here today to discuss tips and tricks on how to get back into that school routine. Our first guest is Robert Schoendorf from the St. Tammany Parish Hospital Sleep Center. Welcome, Robert.
How are you doing this morning?
Good. So can you first tell us why sleep is so important for adults and children?
Children in particular, if they don't get enough sleep, then it could actually affect growth, obviously affect their attitudes, affect their schoolwork, a number of different factors. So it's really important for children, teenagers, to get that much needed sleep early on. And then they will start to eventually develop a sleep pattern as they grow into an adult.
Okay. What is the recommended amount of sleep for children and teens?
So it varies. They suggest kindergartners to the 8th graders around 9 to 10 hours of sleep a night. 9th and 10th graders somewhere around 9 hours. 11th and 12th graders around 8.5. Obviously, we know that especially the teenagers, they're not getting that much sleep. What may it be? School activities or studying, staying up late, and then getting up early in the morning for school the next day. So.
Okay. And so if children aren't getting a good enough amount of sleep, what are some of the behaviors that they'll exhibit?
Well, obviously, if they're not getting enough sleep, obviously they're going to be groggy, cranky in the morning, difficulty, the parent will have difficulty getting them out of bed to actually get going with the day. Obviously falling asleep during school, throughout class. So if you have a teacher coming and telling the parent, so-and-so's falling asleep all day, every day, or nodding off here and there, that's a sign. And it kind of contradicts it, but acting out and hyperactivity. So if you have both maybe going on, so if they're not getting that healthy sleep, they could have hyperactivity to where they're not paying attention, they're having difficulty getting along with other children. And I guess the obvious is if they're not getting enough sleep, it's affecting their schoolwork, affecting what they do and how they do in school. You're going to have poor school performance. So it's a big factor.
Okay.
So.
What are some common sleep disorders that teens have or problems that may be different from children?
Really not much of a difference as far as disorders, because children, adults, everyone can have them. Older, overweight men typically have your obstructive sleep apnea, where you stop breathing at night when you sleep, but it is a factor in children as well. It's not as prevalent, but it is there. So just some kind of signs to look for of children with sleep apnea: loud snoring, night sweats, mouth breathing, of course the hyperactivity the next day, or restless sleep that night.
Okay. And what would parents do if they do feel like their children have sleep apnea?
Well, for one, you want to make sure they're getting that proper amount of sleep. So if they're getting enough sleep and they're still having or showing these signs, or they're tired during the day, the hyperactivity throughout the day, we do sleep testing at the sleep center where that patient, child, teenager, adult would come in, have a sleep study, and we kind of rule out. The primary thing is we rule out the sleep apnea, and then you try and treat the behaviors or other stuff. So it's not just sleep apnea where you stop breathing. There's restless leg syndrome, which restless leg transfers to periodic limb movements, to where your legs are just twitching and kicking all night long, to where a lot of people say they feel like they've run a marathon.
Oh, wow. So
yeah, so there's PLMs, and then there's also narcolepsy. So narcolepsy isn't just like you see in the movie where boom, somebody falls asleep while they're walking, but there are varying stages of it. So if that child is getting their full 7, 8, 9 hours of sleep, and they're still tired the next day, it could be, mild, moderate narcolepsy also.
Okay. And I feel like I hear a lot about adults having sleep apnea. Is it Is it a common thing in children?
It's really not. It's mostly associated with weight. Weight gain is the biggest thing. But yeah, it's really not all that common in children.
So what can be done to better optimize sleep?
The biggest thing is, with kids nowadays, and it seems like they're getting younger and younger with these devices, whether it's a phone, a tablet, a laptop, computer, whatever, is really to get that device out of the bedroom at night. The best maybe 30 minutes prior to their bedtime, get it away, because light triggers a chemical reaction in your brain to where it produces a stimulant to make you stay awake. So people that sleep with the TV on, or if they're, you got a kid playing on the phone right before sleep, it's just going to take them that much longer to go to sleep. Of course, caffeine's the obvious one. Caffeine stays in your system a lot longer than you would think. So if you have to have caffeine, they suggest it just to keep it to the morning times.
Okay.
The later you have it, of course, the later you're going to stay up, and then you have to use a bathroom throughout the night, and that's all disturbing your sleep. But probably with all that, the most important is to follow a routine. I mean, we're humans, we're animals, we're creatures of habit. If you develop a routine to stick with it, your body knows to stay in that same pattern, routine. So if you try and go to sleep around the same time at night, try and have that set bedtime. A lot of parents and children think, okay, weekend, we can sleep in, sleep all day, stay up late, sleep late. It's really suggested you don't want to sleep past your 2 hours after your normal wake-up time, because then that throws everything off. So if you've got a kid sleeping all weekend long, so if they sleep late on Sunday, chances are they'll probably stay up late on Sunday, and that affects the shorter sleep that they're going to get Sunday night going into Monday morning, starting that school week off. So starting that school week off with lack of sleep, they're not going to recover. So yeah, just developing that sleep pattern. So.
Okay, and so I feel like I hear a lot of people say sleeping with the TV on helps me sleep, or keeping the TV on helps me sleep. Yeah. That's not really true.
Gosh, we get that. I mean, 99 times out of 100, a patient comes in, and I don't know why you're going to make me turn the TV off, because I won't be able to go to sleep. Well, you will.
Right.
It's sleep, so a lot of people, I would suggest a sleep timer. Put it on, and that way once you are asleep, it kicks off, because your eyelids are really thin layers of skin. Right. So if you have commercials coming on throughout the night, that dark screen to really bright screen, that flash of light will wake you up. I've been doing sleep studies for 9.5 years, and it never fails that if someone does sleep with a TV on, we see it in the lab, in addition to volume too. So I mean, I would suggest if you need that noise or that comfort, maybe a soft radio station, or just a white noise machine, something that just creates a little bit of static, and so you don't have that dead silence.
Right. Okay. So, that's for everyone, not just children.
Correct. Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, and adults are almost probably worse, because they're stuck in that habit. So at some point growing up, they've developed this bad habit of sleep, and it's just continued through an adult. Get you 40 to 50-year-old male in there who's been doing something his whole life, it's not changing.
Right.
So trying to break them of that. So if you're not only fighting sleep apnea, restless leg syndrome, narcolepsy, you're now fighting just bad sleep habits, stuff that you can correct. So yeah.
What about reading before bed? I know I've been told that helps some people sleep, or is that better than watching TV?
Yes. Oh, I mean, any pattern that you can do. A lot of people say, they'll read a couple pages of a book just to kind of put them to sleep. Just have the lights kind of lowly, dimly lit, or a little book light, to where at least the light's not in your eyes pointing at you, but at least pointed down at the book. That's fine. That's fine. Anything's better than having that TV on.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much for being here with us.
Welcome. Thank you. Thank you.
That was Robert Schodendorf with the St. Tammany Parish Hospital Sleep Center. Our next guest is Melissa Dickerson, the Community Outreach Coordinator at the St. Tammany Parish Hospital Parenting Center, to give us a few more back-to-school tips and how parents and children can get ready for school.
When it comes to your family's health, you want the best. That's exactly why St. Tammany Parish Hospital and Ochsner are now working together. By uniting two of the highest quality healthcare organizations in the state, we can bring everyone in St. Tammany Parish a higher level of specialty care with advanced procedures and the most advanced technology. Because when your healthcare is better, so's your life.
Welcome back to Healthy Living, brought to you by St. Tammany Parish Hospital. From organization to homework, getting back into a regular school routine can be a difficult task for both parents and children. Today we have Melissa Dickerson here from the St. Tammany Parish Hospital Parenting Center to talk about getting ahead and planning for getting back to school. Great to have you here, Melissa.
Thanks for having me.
So, how can parents make the first day back at school easier for their children?
Well, we encourage parents to begin setting their child's or their children's sleep schedule their back to school sleep schedule 2 weeks before school starts. Okay. This helps them to get into the routine where you're not having to start right when school starts. It's going to be easier for them to when the day school starts, it will be easier for parent and for child to get up, get going, etc. So also we try to encourage them to remind their children that even though their child may be a little nervous about the first day of school, which most children are, we try to encourage parents to let their child know, hey, you're not going to be the only one that's nervous. You know, it's your first day back. It's normal to be nervous, especially if they're going to be starting a new school, moving to a different grade level. We ask parents to talk to their children though and let them know, hey, to take some of the stress off, say, hey, some of the positive things, you're going to be able to meet new people, you're going to be able to see your old friends. So that right there is going to help to eliminate or alleviate some of that stress for the first day of school too. And if your child is starting a new school, we recommend that parents try to get involved by going to any orientations or any tours the school may offer, letting them know what the school has to offer. Parents getting involved in the school also will help to eliminate some of that stress too as well, and they'll know what their children are getting into. So, and then if needed, sometimes just driving them, taking their child to school on the first day and picking them up, that also helps. It'll help the children to feel a little bit more secure having mom or dad or their caregiver to drop them off and pick them up the first day of school.
Right, right. Yeah, that seems like it would make sense, especially if they're nervous about a new school, getting on the bus and all that kind of stuff. At least if they've gone a day or two and they know some kids before they do that, seems like it would help.
That's true, and that's true. It really helps out a lot if the more the parents are involved and the more that the children know that they're involved, that's going to help, that they've got their back. Mm-hmm. So. Okay,
so what can parents do to make sure their family is traveling safe to and from school?
Well, since there's different means of transportation, there's the school bus. Some parents drive their children to school. Some walk. Some ride bikes. We have some different suggestions, especially first of all when it comes to the school bus. We like to teach safety first. Encourage that. Teach children safety first always. So, if they're riding the school bus, try to remind the child to always, do not approach the bus until it comes to a complete stop. Also children shouldn't move around on the bus. Usually most bus drivers are going to take care of that.
Right.
But it does help when the parents do encourage that as well. Mm-hmm. So another thing is you try to encourage your children to look both ways before crossing the street. Just because there's those big stop signs that fly out on a school bus or there's a stop sign there, it doesn't mean that traffic is going to stop. As we know, we live in a very busy world and cell phones and such, and not everyone's always paying attention. So we encourage children to look both ways, teach them to look both ways before crossing the street. And this could be if the bus is actually not picking them up right in front of their home, if there's a designated area. So we encourage those things too. Also, always boarding and exiting the bus in the same, in the designated area. That's very important too. Sometimes it could be that parents want their child to be dropped off at a different place, but it's really for safety purposes that they board and are dropped off at the same safe place.
So what about if they're traveling in a car?
Well, a car, of course, is different. You know, we have a lot of parents who do take their children to school. The one thing we encourage, of course, is that all passengers in the car should always wear seat belts. Or if a child is younger and cannot wear, or not of age to wear a seat belt, they need to be in an age-appropriate car seat. If a child, all children ages younger than 13 should always sit in the rear of the vehicle. And we like to talk about car seat safety a lot. So if we have parents that are unsure of what type of car seat your child should be in, whether it be infant, convertible, forward-facing, rear-facing, booster. At the Parenting Center, we actually have 3 technicians on staff, and if they call and schedule an appointment, we'd be more than happy to go over that with them and also educate them on how to install the car seat properly. We'll check it, make sure it's installed in properly. But that's a very important thing. And they could always call us at 985-898-4435 to schedule that appointment. I also encourage them to go to Troop L. Troop L, they do car seat checks every Tuesday from 3 to 6 as well. So.
All right. And then this, I feel like most kids don't do this now, but I'm sure some do still ride bikes to school and walk, although I feel like it's a little more rare.
It is. I would say that riding bikes and walking probably are rare, but there are children out there that still do have to ride bikes or walk too. And let's say they're going to ride a bike to school, we encourage them, no matter if it's a short distance or a long distance, that they always wear their bike helmets. And what I see a lot in the community is when I talk to children, I'll ask them, do you wear a bike helmet? And a lot of children tell me no, and they'll tell me because it's uncomfortable, or because they don't see other children wearing it, or because their parents don't wear bike helmets. So what we try to do is encourage parents to wear bike helmets as well if they're going to be riding a bike. That way their child will see that how important it is. It's almost like wearing a seatbelt. If parents, if they wear their seatbelt, then of course children are more apt to do the same thing. And another thing, there's a lot of different, when it comes to bike riding, it's always important to ride on the right in the same direction of traffic. If there's no sidewalks or bike paths, I know we have a lot of sidewalks. We don't necessarily have a lot of bike paths other than to trace, but it's really important to always ride with the traffic. And then as a bike rider, we're always supposed to respect traffic lights and stop signs, just as cars do, as vehicles. And then wearing bright colored clothing so you're more visible, so people can see you. And this isn't only just for night, this is during the day too. Right. So that way you can be seen, whether you're riding to school, you just wear a little bright colored vest or whatever it may be. But we encourage that for children, especially when it comes to riding their bike. And then if you're walking to school, we always try to encourage them to walk in pairs because it's safer to do that. You really don't ever want to let a child just walk alone. Two is better than one. And if need be, sometimes just getting a trusted neighbor, a trusted friend to walk with the children is always a good thing too. So, because you never really know. It's better to it's safety first. That's what we always try to encourage, safety first. So. Right.
Okay, so getting back to school, I'm sure something most kids aren't looking forward to is homework.
Oh yeah.
And I'm sure that's probably one of the most difficult things that parents have to deal with, especially in the beginning of the year, is getting their kids to do their homework. Yeah. So what are some ways that parents and caregivers can encourage their kids in a positive way to do their homework?
Okay, it's really important to create that after-school schedule, but to allow time for snack, relaxation, play, and study. Just as adults, we work all day, we get off of work, and we just need to recharge. We just need to relax and just kind of regroup, get ourselves together. And children need the same thing. They also need to recharge and regroup. So maybe having the child a nice snack when they get home. Of course, we have a lot of working parents, but snacks that are healthy, healthy snacks, fruits and vegetables. Not all parents are going to have dinner ready right when kids, when the kids get home from school. So just having snacks available for them in order for them to be able to just recharge, maybe letting them go outside and play. Play is very good, getting off some of that energy from sitting in the classroom all day. That helps out a lot as well. When you talk about doing homework, it's really important to establish a really good workspace for doing homework. It could be their bedroom, it could be in the living room, just somewhere in the home that's quiet and there's no distractions. All electronics need to be turned off. That's a big thing. Children love TV and tablets and phones, and there's so much of that. But it's really important to have that routine of having that quiet place within the home where they're able to sit and focus on their homework. That's a very important thing.
Right. So say they have two different age children, a 16-year-old and a 10-year-old. Is this something, whatever their relaxation is, does it still need to be on the same kind of schedule? Like when they get home, each kid has an hour to do their thing and then it's homework time?
I think it depends on the parent,
Okay.
really. And also too is it's going to be more age appropriate. So let's say a 10-year-old is going to have different homework than the 16-year-old.
Right.
So it really is going to depend on their schedule. It could be that the 10-year-old is home and the 16-year-old is playing a sport, or both
Right.
are playing a sport. It really depends on what the parent chooses to do.
Mm-hmm.
What we see is we have a lot of families that they stay very busy, especially if there's more than one child. You have some children that they play every sport. They're involved in a lot of extracurricular activities. So that's also going to determine their routine too. So it could be that the child gets home and they may have ball practice. Let's just, for example, they have ball practice at 6. The parents may suggest, okay, when you get home from school, you have a snack and you do your homework because then we have ball practice.
Right.
And when they go to practice or whatever it may be, that could be something that's relaxing for them. That's some playtime for them, whether it be music, whatever it may be. That could be some things too that could be part of their relaxation and their regrouping and recharging as well. So, but it really depends on what works for the parents and the family, because all families are going to be different. If you have younger children, for example, let's say preschoolers, they may not be into the extracurricular activities yet. So for them, it would be a little different. The routine would be a little different. It could be where they get home and they play or they have a snack. Preschoolers usually do not have homework, so some of the things that parents can do to kind of begin that schedule for them, so when the time comes when they do start having homework, is to maybe have them recite their ABCs, work on their numbers for a certain period of time, just to get them acclimated to that schedule, so it's
Right.
not so frustrating when they actually do have to sit down and do homework.
Right, when they feel like, well, I was in school last year and I didn't have to do this.
Exactly, because a lot of
Gotcha.
times they may not understand that. So especially if they don't have older siblings, or there's a lot of circumstances that play in. So, but also establishing the household rule, of course, with the no TV or other electronics for distractions. That's a big thing too, especially during homework time, because most children it is just the age, in a day and age of electronics technology, which is wonderful, but it's really important for them to focus on their homework and especially teaching them good study habits, so that way as they get older, they're still going to have that, when they go off to college and so forth. So
Right. Well, what if they need to use electronics for their homework, which I don't know for a fact, but I'm sure that's a big thing now.
that is a big thing. If a child does have to use a computer or electronics, we just suggest that the parents monitor that, just to make sure they are using it for homework purposes. it's really important to monitor internet access when it comes to children, because there's just so many things out there, social media, well, just in general, there's a lot of things out there. So it's really important just for the parents to monitor that. If they do need the electronics, then, and a lot of them do, especially depending on their age and everything. That's going to make a big difference, but just monitoring that is a big thing too.
Okay, and I know this is probably getting back to school and all these routines and planning, I'm sure is stressful for parents. What's some things they can do to manage that stress?
For parents, well, the one thing is that the one thing they can do is really organizing and being consistent. That can really go a long way. And not all of us are organized. Some are more organized than others, and that's just our personalities. But by organizing, it actually helps to relieve some of that stress. It could be where, for example, fixing lunches, if their child brings a lunch, to fix lunch before the night before, set out their clothes the night before, make sure their backpacks are all packed up and ready to go the night before. Also, just getting their child into that bedtime routine. That's a big one too. Another thing too is having other members of the household share the load of the house duties. Age appropriate. It could be, for example, you may have a preschooler. You can't get them necessarily to go wash dishes or sweep or dust or whatever it may be, washing clothes, but you could have them keep their room tidy, and then as they get older, you can give them different chores, and that way parents, if the load is not all on them, and that helps to eliminate some stress as well. And also talking to your child or children, asking them, how's school going? Just being involved and knowing what's going on and how they're doing and if they're having any issues at school. So,
okay. Well, thank you so much for being here with us today. I'd like to thank Robert and Melissa for being here and giving us some excellent advice on back to school tips. I'm your host, Amanda Paxton, and this has been Healthy Living, brought to you by St. Tammany Parish Hospital.